United States, the Education Department of the United States for Civil Rights, children with disabilities are being disciplined at higher rates, and that includes seclusion and restraint. Seclusion is such a controversial topic in schools because there are actually no federal laws to back it up. The state or the school decides what rules they're going to implement. So Idaho is one of the 4 states in the United States that have stayed silent on this and do not have any rules on seclusion. So, which brings me to my first point. What is seclusion? Seclusion is the voluntary or involuntary confinement of a child in a room where they are able to regain control. Seclusion is a behavior change procedure and is used as a consequence in a behavior crisis. This is used also for them to create a peer relationship with their peers by avoiding the uncontrolled public behavior that comes with a behavior crisis. A behavior intervention plan needs to be in place for that seclusion to happen. Seclusion rooms are also many times labeled wrongfully and are really sensory rooms or safe zones, where here they have bean bags for the child's discretion or swings for them. Excuse me. There are 15 principles developed by the Department of Education that serve as a guide for states or schools to develop the rules, but they're not mandatory. So that leads me to my second point. The lack of federal guidelines or laws in the United States is causing schools to be misinformed on seclusion. So now we're seeing lots of improper implementation, which is causing abuse. Some of these they don't provide the adequate training, such as de-escalation techniques. Those de-escalation techniques are critical for the behavior management of the child. Some of the most common involuntary seclusion should be used when the children's life is in danger or where other children's lives is in danger. And now we're seeing that seclusion is being used in schools not just because the child's life is in danger, but because it's being used as a form of punishment or for a behavior or eliminating that behavior. There are 2 tactics that should be used before seclusion. That's time in, or exclusionary time in means that the child is removed from that environment but placed in a different classroom or in the principal's office. Seclusion should be the last resort, which is not. Seclusion is also it was designed to be used with special education students. And now we're seeing that it's being used more broadly in all schools. This improper use of seclusion has created many, many psychological and physical effects on children. When seclusion is going to happen, the child's state of mind should be the first priority in that teacher. So now we're seeing that children as low as in kindergarten are being put in involuntary seclusion. Sometimes they're in there more than once in a week. And when they're in there, they usually kick, they scream, they cry until they have calmed down, and then they're ready to come out. This toxic stress that they're receiving is really, really damaging if it's repetitive, and we're seeing that it is being repetitive. According to the National Disability Rights, there have been abuses in seclusion, such as 1 death or multiple attempts of suicide. Some of the physical harms are electrocution, self-injury, pounding on the walls, or headbanging. In some instances, toilets, water, and food has been denied. But let me make it clear, not all seclusion do children harm themselves. This happens when the improper of seclusion is used. In conclusion, seclusion works when adequate training is proportioned and positive alternatives are put in such place, such as de-escalation techniques, time in, providing more staff. That's one thing we're seeing. Not enough staff is leading to seclusion. With the lack of seclusion laws, there have been schools misguided. Maybe they're not doing it on purpose, but they're not getting enough information on that. And as a result, we're really, really harming our children psychologically and physically. With the lack The use of seclusion in school settings is increasingly rapidly, so we're seeing this is increasing. And although it was designed for the well-being of the child, it's not perfect. And consequently, there are more negative effects than the positive effects it was intended